After listening to the dragon's words, the long-haired youth appeared surprised and said, "What? But I'm still too young to learn." Then he ran up and shook the hands of the other youth, with a pleading sparkle in his eyes, saying, "It can't be because I'm too young, so I can't learn." Hearing the dragon's words seemed to soften him, and he raised his hand to scratch his head, saying, But normally you learn after you pass the elementary stage." "Alright, I'll teach you then." Excited about the prospect of learning, the youth exclaimed, "Really? Then let's start learning right away." The other youth smiled and replied, "But before we start, there's a place we need to go first. For a dragonling to discover their own traits for the first time, they must seek out the elders." After hearing the other youth's words, he didn't understand and asked, "But how do we get to where the elders are?" The other youth responded, "To get there, we have to fly." Then around him appeared swirling tendrils of purple energy, like a whirlwind. With a swoosh, a dark purple dragon appeared, standing tall in front of him. The first time witnessing this scene, he couldn't contain his excitement, clasping his hands together, his eyes sparkling as he exclaimed, "Wow, is this dragon transformation? Is this a real dragon?" And the dark purple dragon bowed its head and spoke, "Come on, climb up here, onto your father's back." Then he climbed onto the dragon's hand, and with a whoosh, the dark purple dragon soared up into the sky at breakneck speed. Experiencing such a high-speed roller coaster ride for the first time, he couldn't help but cry out in fear, "It's so high up. But how high are we going, father?" Seeing his little dragon scared like this, the dark purple dragon chuckled, "Haha, we still have a long way to go." Then he turned his head to look down and pondered, "Or are we going to fly through the atmosphere and into space?" A while later, the dark purple dragon said, "Lois, we're almost there." In front of them was a white island with golden edges, radiating a dazzling mystical light as it hovered in space. The dragon continued, "Are you surprised? That's our sacred land, the castle of silver flowers." Then both of them landed there, standing in front of the majestic and magnificent gate. He looked up in awe and said, "Wow, it's even bigger up close." Then the purple energy strands reappeared, and the dragon transformed back into the familiar long-haired young man, saying, "Alright, let's go in." After a while, they stepped into the grand hall, facing other dragons perched on each podium. Then a dragon in the middle spoke up, "You have arrived." That white dragon was Sandra, the leader of the 13 dragon elders. The long-haired young man respectfully bowed and raised his hand, saying, "Hello. I am Jean Locker, and this is Pamuza's son." Standing among the dragons for the first time made him feel awkward and nervous. He raised his hand and said, Hello." Then Bartis, one of the 13 elders, spoke up, "Oh, is that your child? He looks very intelligent and gentle, truly Pamuza's descendant." Suddenly, the adjacent blue dragon glanced over and shouted, "This rascal!" The young man with green hair spoke up, "It's been a long time, hasn't it, father?" Then the blue dragon turned back. That dragon's name was Pamuz, one of the 13 elders. Looking at the long-haired young man, he said, "Indeed, it has been 623 years, the last time you came here was to introduce your wife, Valentina, wasn't it? But you should have brought your child here right after it was born. Why did I have to meet my grandchild for the first time along with the other old folks here?" The long-haired young man explained, "Lois is only a month old, why would you want to force it to come here?" Surprisingly, the little dragon Lois appeared under the feet of the blue dragon Pamuz. Looking up. After staring at each other for a while, suddenly the blue dragon seemed to be charmed by the little dragon Lois. Looking into its eyes and its cute figure, even as an old dragon, he couldn't resist. He chuckled with delight and said, "Yes, yes, I am your grandfather." "Oh, such an adorable grandson," then burst into laughter. Witnessing this scene, the other 2 dragons around spoke up, "He is completely enamored with his first grandchild." One dragon said, "He has been looking forward to a grandchild for a long time, let him enjoy this moment," another added. Then the white dragon Sandra asked, "So, do you want to know Lois's characteristics? Is it too early?" The long-haired young man replied, "Indeed, I thought so at first, but Lois has expressed a desire to learn." Suddenly, the blue dragon Pamuz burst into laughter. "Oh, haha, such a curious little dragon, just like its grandfather." Seeing someone interrupting, the white dragon Sandra became annoyed. "Pamuz, please be quiet," then he called for Lois to step into the center. Seeing Lois looking scared, the long-haired young man said, "No need to worry, nothing serious is happening. All you need to do is stay calm." Then Lois stepped into the circle, his face showing signs of tension. Then Dragon Sandra exclaimed, "Let's begin," and all the surrounding dragons simultaneously raised their right hands, emitting a glowing energy ball. Witnessing this spectacle, the young man underwent a mood shift of 181 degrees, from tension to excitement, shouting, "Fantastic!" Dragon Sandra then said, "Hey, little one, close your eyes and focus, the lifelong companion of mine," and he extended his two small, adorable hands forward, closed his eyes. Then elements such as metal, wood, water, fire, earth, space, time, crystal, lightning, and wind appeared around the dragon. On Sandra's hand was an hourglass, probably symbolizing time. The long-haired young man, seeing it, exclaimed in surprise and thought, "That's the element of the time attribute. It's even stronger than other natural attributes. My son is indeed a genius." Meanwhile, on the hand of the blue dragon, there were planetary elements revolving around. He couldn't contain his emotions either and burst into laughter. "Bahaha, that's a powerful attribute. Truly worthy of being my descendant. Moreover, it's also a parallel attribute." Then on the hand of the purple dragon appeared something resembling a Rubik's cube, which I also don't know what it is. The purple dragon then said, "It's been a long time since a dragon with two attributes was born, a space attribute as well." Three attributes, Dragon Sandra exclaimed, "The first dragon King Kaider and the most villainous dragon ever swallowed whole by the demon Rotvarir throughout the dragon tribe's history only appeared with two attributes 3 times. Is this baby destined to write a new history?" Then the two blue and purple dragons looked at the white dragon, who now also had a star-shaped attribute on its hand, and exclaimed, "It even has a spiritual attribute." Then all the attributes flew into the body of the dragon hovering in the air. In total, the dragon had 4 attributes, not 3, all rare attributes. The dragon then embraced all the attributes with a satisfied smile on its face. Amidst the astonishment of the dragons in the grand hall, he timidly asked, "Why is everyone looking at me like that?" Meanwhile, the long-haired youth wore a dumbfounded expression. After a while, he returned to the castle and sat with crossed arms on the chair, deep in thought. Time, space, power, spirit, these 4 abstract attributes, a capability that even dragons cannot articulate, signify an immense potential large enough to disrupt the balance of the original storyline. With such power, can I handle all the events that will unfold in this story alone? The storyline's flow has been altered by this. They may feel uncomfortable not being able to kill me, but perhaps I'll perish before reaching adulthood. So, what use are these greatest powers? But there is hope, albeit amidst the chaos caused by this power, it's also an opportunity. If I train this power well, my chances of survival will greatly increase. More importantly, I am not Lois from the original plot, I have memories from past lives. Therefore, I am aware of the impending danger. Then he took out 2 books on the principles of magical skills and the basic foundation of martial arts. I will use them to ensure my survival as best as I can. Magical skills involve controlling attributes, and martial arts basics involve simultaneously handling the body's qualities. Which should I master first to survive, or perhaps I should bypass this dilemma and learn both simultaneously? This body is a dragon, blessed with abundant magical power and has possessed 4 attributes since birth. With a little more effort, I can do it. He eagerly placed his hands on the 2 books, his determined expression saying, "All right, let's start right now." After that, the long-haired youth, Jean Locker, suddenly appeared behind him, holding a plate of food that didn't seem to be for humans. Jean Locker remarked, Well, it seems like you've been waiting for quite some time, haven't you, Lois? Now, let's eat. As the ancients used to say, even the journey to Mount Kumgang begins with a meal. Perhaps we should have a light meal first. The blue crystal looked like a flower, representing the water attribute, similar to the blue ice crystals of Lamos. Next was the brown one, resembling ginseng, representing the wood attribute, and it was a bit tough like the trunk of a hydrogen tree. The jellyfish-like one represented the wind attribute, with a soft and fluffy texture like cotton candy. Lastly, the thunderbird's heart represented the lightning attribute, giving a fizzy sensation. Although these potions contained energy that could cause normal creatures to explode if not used carefully, dragons had a permanent organ called the dragon's heart, allowing them to convert magic from nature into their own attributes. That's why such a feast could happen. He then lifted the fork and eagerly devoured the food, thinking to himself, I need to eat a lot and grow quickly. The long-haired youth watched him eat and couldn't help but feel sorry, saying, he must be very tired. After satisfying his hunger, he fell asleep soundly on the bed. Suddenly, in the room, a round purple energy orb transformed into a fork and forcefully stabbed into the ground, its sharp tip pointing towards the sky like a trap set right next to his sleeping bed. The next morning, as he woke up with one hand holding a stuffed bunny and the other rubbing his eyes, he muttered, when did I fall asleep? Seems like I was munching on some snacks. Still half asleep, he heard a voice calling out, Lois, it's time to wake up and eat. Hearing the call, while still groggy, he attempted to step out of bed, but suddenly, some force pulled him back, causing him to tumble to the ground. When he opened his eyes, the fork from last night was right in front of him, scaring him out of his wits. Picking up the fork, he exclaimed, What's this? Where did it come from? Did I almost die because of this thing stabbing into the floor? It's like it's an executioner waiting for me, but where did this thread come from? Then he noticed the stuffed bunny had been severed, with a thread tied to its tail connected to his dragon's tail. Seeing the bunny in that state, he panicked and exclaimed, Oh, Tutu. It was the only thing here he could confide in, so he decided to ask his father to fix it. Then he dragged the bunny downstairs while sitting down to eat. The long-haired young man comforted him, saying, I bet your tutu must be very sad when it's broken, right? But don't worry, Dad will fix it up nicely, okay? Suddenly, he jumped up and exclaimed, Oh, what's this? Since when was I lying here? Then the voice appeared again, Lois, it's time to eat, get up and eat. He looked at the bunny and thought, when was tutu fixed? He staggered downstairs and weakly said, Dad, something seems to be wrong with me. The long-haired young man, holding a ladle, was shocked and exclaimed, What happened? Why? Where is my son injured? He replied, I'm not sure if I'm in pain or not. But my memories are blurry, and I feel very sleepy. After listening to the young dragon, Jean Locker just nodded with a smile and said, Son, I think it's time. That's not pain. It's just your sleep phase coming in. Our dragon species has 2 sleep phases for development. You usually feel sleepy because your first sleep phase is approaching. He asked again, So, how long will I have to sleep? Jean Locker replied, There's no exact time, but roughly. Then he heard a voice like a lightning strike in his ear, What? 100 years? Damn it, just a few days ago I encountered situations causing unreasonable physical exertion, and now Dad is telling me to sleep for 100 years. It's like asking me to commit suicide. This is unacceptable. I need a plan to stay awake as long as possible. Then he took out pen and paper and devised a detailed plan. First, avoid overeating because a full stomach makes one sleepy. Second, skip bathing as it tends to relax us. Third, limit movement, as too much movement leads to exhaustion. Fourth, stay away from the bed because just seeing it will make you want to lie down. Alright, now let's try to stay awake as long as possible. After a while, looking at the dragon lifelessly wandering like a mobile zombie, the long-haired young man exclaimed, Lois, you need to eat properly. Please, just a spoonful. Then he dashed off desperately. I can't rest until I find a way to resist the impending sleep. He then opened the book where he had written several plans, reading aloud, ways to stay awake, stand up, pinch your thighs, eat something spicy, splash cold water on your face, avoid reading. As he reached this point, his eyes began to close drowsily, thinking he had fallen asleep, but suddenly he slapped himself in the face with both hands, shouting, "No, I can't." A dark curtain appeared, and then he heard a voice calling. "Lois, Lois." The long-haired young man appeared with a cheerful face, asking, "Lois, are you still asleep?" He replied, I'm not asleep, just dozing off a bit." But the next words from the long-haired young man left him stunned. "Congratulations on your son, we're celebrating his 100th birthday, Lois." Hearing this, he couldn't believe his ears. At this point in the chapter, please leave your comments below, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel to motivate me to release new content soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.